I just got done shaving, and I thought to myself, oh, why don't I make a video? Let the clean shaven look, why let the clean shaven look go to waste? But then I swear, what am I going to talk about? I really wasn't planning on talking about anything. Oh, look at this. Oh, inspiration. All right. I'll talk about superheroes and Bruce Lee. Actually, I did have a subject in mind, and it's why are superheroes so long lasting? You know, for instance, you got here Superman, it's been around since 1938, Batman, 1939, Wonder Woman, around 1940 or thereabouts, one after the other. These are the big three for DC. And of course, Marvel has, Spider-Man and Captain America, the Incredible Hulk. So why are the superhero characters, why have they been around so long? I mean, and they're still going strong. I mean, I grew up with them. Most of us probably did. I was always a superhero fan. Then as I got older, I still liked them, but I wasn't into them as much. And I got back into them more recently because they're doing such the superheroes now are very adult-like they're not really for kids anymore like they used to be. They were considered just, children's fare. Now, graphic novels, I got back into it mainly because of the graphic novels. So on such a adult level, the stories are for everyone really. I mean, kids still like them, of course. They like the characters, but the stories are very adult oriented, especially Batman, which is my favorite, and that's why I got back into them, and I started collecting these graphic novels and then the statues, mainly due to being on Amazon and eBay. You're online, you order something, and then they keep sending you things. They know what you like, and they keep sending you more and more. And next thing you know, I got this big collection of graphic novels and statues. But so I was thinking, well, they've been around for so many years, and probably even long after I'm gone, they'll still be around. Why is it these same superheroes, Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, why have they been around so long and they're, still around, and they will probably always be around? Kind of like, Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck, although I prefer Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck. But you know what I mean, they're just everlasting, and I guess it's because, they're just characters that caught on with the public. And superheroes, you like them from when you were a kid, and if they stay the way they've been writing them, like I said, for adults as well, you keep on liking them, and they just last forever that way. Then I got to thinking, okay, those are, characters that aren't real. What about real live celebrities, let's say, that have been around forever? Are there any like that? They have a few years where they're famous or popular, and then they die out. Like, for instance, when I was growing up, in the 60s and 70s, you had a revival of Humphrey Bogart. The movie theaters, we used to have the revival movie theaters. They were always, Humphrey Bogart was like the popular one that caught on with the younger generation again. And now, today, they don't even remember who he is anymore. Unless you're somebody who grew up like my age, but younger generation, you say Humphrey Bogart, they're like, who? Except maybe for Casablanca, they'll remember him. Oh yeah, the guy in Casablanca. He's still kind of remembered for that, because that's always considered one of the best movies ever made. And there's a few Bogart movies that are on like that American Film Institute listing of like the 100 best films. There's quite a few Bogart films on that list. But for the most part, the younger people don't remember Bogart anymore. When I was growing up, like I said, he was long gone. He died in 1957. And when I was growing up, like I said, in the 60s and 70s, he was still popular, but not anymore, not any longer. A lot of those actors from then, Humphrey Bogart, James Cagney, John Wayne, although John Wayne people still remember. But those guys aren't as popular as they were. Mm-hmm. But I would say of all the, stars from back then, Frank Sinatra, Elvis Presley,
Tracy.
And Bruce Lee,
Dick Tracy.
right? They're still around. Or they're still remembered.
Dick Tracy.
What are you talking about, Dick Tracy?
Yeah, he was one of the other characters from the thing.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, Dick Tracy. But I don't know if you ask a young person Dick Tracy. I don't know if they would know Dick Tracy. Maybe certain people. There are certain ones, remembered by certain people. Like, there's still people who remember Bogart, But for the most part, I think, like I was saying, the main three, like you got Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman. I would say Frank Sinatra, Elvis Presley, and Bruce Lee. You go up to anybody, they still, whether they liked him or not, they still know who Frank Sinatra was. They still know who Elvis Presley was, and Bruce Lee. And I think, those three are in their own category where, they're still remembered. The Beatles, but the Beatles are a group. I'm talking about one individual. So, like I said, you don't even have to like them, Frank Sinatra, but you'll know who he is. Nobody ever says, who? When you say Frank Sinatra, they never say, Frank who? Or Elvis Presley. Elvis who? Or Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee? No, everybody still remembers them, young and old. So there you go. Those are the main three. So you got Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Frank Sinatra, Elvis Presley, and Bruce Lee. Those are the ones I would say. Now, I still remember today, but how long from now? Years from now, will Frank Sinatra still be remembered? Probably because his achievements, his body of work. Elvis Presley, the king of rock and roll. And Bruce Lee, I don't know for how many more years, when will there be a point in time when they're forgotten about, like I said about Humphrey Bogart. And when I was growing up along with Humphrey Bogart, I was also into classic comedians in those days. Like I said, the revival movie theaters, or the Marx Brothers, like Humphrey Bogart, were rediscovered by that younger generation. But today, you say the Marx Brothers, and they don't know who the Marx Brothers are anymore. As a matter of fact, when I wear this shirt of the Marx Brothers, this Groucho, Chico, and Harpo, everybody thinks it's the Three Stooges because they see three funny faces. But if that goes to show you, that they might remember the Three Stooges by name, and they know Moe, Larry, and Curly. But they don't really know the Three Stooges because if they did, they wouldn't get it mixed up with the Marx Brothers. So, of all the classic comedians, the Three Stooges are probably remembered more than anyone, but not really. Like I said, they know the name. They don't really know them. You know what I mean? And they know it's Moe, Larry, and Curly, and even Shem. Some people, but that's from reference points, like people mentioning them in other movies and stuff. But they don't really know them because, like I said, they wouldn't mix them up with the Marx Brothers if they did. So there you go. Fame is fleeting. Anyway, that's the subject matter for this video. Until the next video, I hope we're all remembered long after we're long gone by at least a certain amount of people. Take care.